Oh gosh. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
My
Hello.
working. Why not? I'll come to that.
Cool.
Can you hear me all right?
Oh, so hi
Good
everyone.
morning.
Hello.
Morning.
J- Yep, Josh Baron will be emceeing. If everyone can go on mute, Josh will kick us off in a moment. If everyone can please mute if you're not a speaker, you know who you are as speakers. And we will receive questions as we go in the chat. So thanks everyone. Over to you, sir.
Awesome. Well, welcome, everybody. My name is Josh Baron, and I'm a senior advisor at Grand Engine. Today, we're going to give you updates and discuss the current state of the SBIR reauthorization process. For this fireside chat, we are joined by two extremely knowledgeable speakers about the SBIR program and also about its reauthorization, namely Grand Engine's CEO and founder, Sam Tetlow, and also Eric Blatt, who is a partner at Scale LLP and has been on the ground engaging with the two senators' offices that are negotiating back and forth about whether or not and under what structure to reauthorize the SBIR program. But before we introduce our speakers in more depth, I'd first like to introduce Grand Engine. Grant Engine is a consultancy firm. We're focused on helping innovative companies win and leverage non-dilutive funding from a wide range of industries and also from a wide range of agencies, including the Department of War or Defense, however you like, National Institute of Health, BARDA, the ARPA programs, including DARPA, ARPA-H, ARPA-E, National Science Foundation, NASA, and many foundation and state sources as well. Our mission is pretty simple. It's to save lives and extend the length of a quality life by helping our clients win federal non-dilutive funding for research and development. Grant Engine is now in its 10th year. We are based out of New York, but we have team members across the country, including more than 40 PhDs, and have specialists in the life sciences as well as in defense and dual use. In addition to helping companies write proposals and win federal funding, we also provide accounting and compliance services. Our win rate is 2 to 4 times better than the national average. One of our speakers today, Sam Tetlow, I mentioned before, Grant Engine's founder and CEO, has a track record as an entrepreneur and investor in tech companies such as Amalgam Therapeutics, Epicipher, which was named the best university startup in 2016 by the US Congress, Genomics, Immunologics, and Transient Pharma that actually led to an IPO in April 2011. As a leader, Sam focuses on building great teams, developing products and services that clients and customers love and actually need, and more recently, navigating the turbulence in the federal funding landscape. Sam continues to build on his venture capital experience by investing into compelling companies as an angel investor. Sam holds an MBA from UNC, Ken Flagler Business School, and a bachelor's in sciences in aerospace engineering from Worcester Polytech Institute. He has been on Mount Everest and is a former competitive triathlete and an avid proponent of doing good while also doing well. Sam is joined by Eric Blatt. Eric is a partner at Scale LLP and a leading voice on intellectual property and government innovation for emerging companies, building in national security, dual use, and defense tech markets. Eric combines deep IP and litigation experience with practical fluency in federally funded R&D, including SBIR, and government data rights. He began his career as a patent examiner at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office and is recognized for his ability to synthesize new technologies, craft persuasive arguments, and deliver cost-effective outcomes across patents, IP transactions, and strategic partnerships. Eric also serves as executive director of the Alliance for Commercial Technology in Government and mentors founders through programs including the Navy's SBIR and STTR transition program, and also MIT's Mission Innovation Program. Related to this conversation, we are lucky to be joined by Eric, as he has been an important advocate for the renewal of the SBIR program. With that, I'll hand it over to the mic to Sam.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. I just want to set the stage a little bit for today. We're going to talk about really two key topics. One, which is near and dear to everyone's hearts and wallets, which is the SBIR reauthorization. Eric is going to walk us through the latest state of play, offer some, I think, insights, some reality about where we are and what we can expect. We're going to then turn our attention to what opportunities exist in the landscape for life sciences and defense and dual use. And to set the stage, I just wanted to say that we're hearing a lot of questions from the marketplace. There's a lot of commentary and posting on LinkedIn and at the proverbial water cooler. And here's a snapshot of what we're hearing and there's a lot of concern, rightly so. And this runs the gamut from worried that things won't get reauthorized to I can't count on it anymore to I'm moving on because the uncertainty is just prevalent and everywhere. And all of those feelings and dynamics we hear, we understand, they're real, and we're living through those as well. And we're also here to impart to you the insights about where the program is and what it can mean for you when it does get reauthorized, which it absolutely will. But moreover, that there are other opportunities that are available to you now. There is turbulence here. And in spite of that turbulence, there is opportunity for you to go after that non-SBIR. We absolutely advocate and believe you need to be ready for when the program does turn on. And in the meantime, also think about alternatives. So we'll talk about those towards the end. So I wanted to just set that stage because what you're going through, many people are going through, and we'll talk about advocacy and talking to the voices that matter that are making these decisions. So really happy to turn it over to Eric. If there's one person that we are closest to, who is himself closest to the action, the staffers, the senators making the decision, it is Mr. Eric Blatt. And the staffers are a lot of who make this action happen while the senators make the decisions. And there's, I think, in my opinion, no better person to provide the reality and the insight about what's going on behind the scenes, what we can expect in the coming days and weeks, and also provide some hope to you. So without further ado, Eric, I'll hand it over to you and your insider knowledge.
Thanks, Sam. I don't know that I have insider knowledge right now, which actually, to some extent, sort of frees me up. Sometimes people do pass little nuggets to me, and then they say, "Please don't share." I would say so. I'll give a little bit of context on how things wound up where they are, and the alliance. So I have two hats I wear. I'm an attorney. I lead a legal practice that's focused on dual use and emerging defense technology companies. We represent around 200 startups in the space. And then I also serve as the executive director for the Alliance for Commercial Technology and Government. That's an all-volunteer trade association. It's all work for free. We represent basically the same constituency of companies that are largely startups, largely IP, product oriented, want to get into the government and you have a fair shot at actually selling their products as products and not becoming sort of butts and seats service defense contractors. And so we got involved. Actually, we were the organization even before I joined was deeply involved in the 2022 SBIR reauthorization, and that got done sort of at the finish line, as these things tend to do. And then we had some priorities for the 2025 reauthorization. We actually went live with a sort of a wish list in October 2024, so about a year and a half ago was when we sort of formally kicked up our involvement in this process. And Senator Ernst was interested in a lot of our recommendations. A lot of those found their way into her Innovate Act, released in, I don't know, March 2025. Obviously, the Democrats had their own positions on various issues, and they had their own version of the bill. And then the clock ran out. Unfortunately, there wasn't substantive engagement, and the clock sort of ran out. And the alliance represents sort of the startup side of this issue. So you can sort of think of there being maybe three sort of key stakeholders in the SBIR reauthorization debate. There's the agencies, in particular the DoW, but also the NIH, Department of Energy, NASA, National Science Foundation. There's the agencies, they have their missions. The SBIR program is an important part of executing on those missions. For each agency, sort of the thesis is a little bit different, but it's important for all the agencies. Then there in industry, there's sort of two camps. There is sort of the startup world, which we believe the SBIR program was really designed to support startups, get non-dilutive fundings to folks who are, developing high-impact technology, and then those companies can get the money. And if the things work out, they'll sort of graduate, they'll grow out of the program and move on to bigger, better things. And obviously, if not, not all projects pan out. So maybe, they'll get a little funding, it doesn't pan out, and they'll move on to the next thing. So there's that constituency, which is by numbers like 99% of the program. And then there is, a legacy component in the program, contract research and development. A lot of these companies have been in the program for 30 plus years. Some of them receive tens of millions. The largest, some people call them SBIR mills or multiple award winners. Sort of take your pick. We try not to use the pejorative term. And the largest has been in the program for many years and is receiving about $40 million of these awards per year. And they obviously have an interest in sort of protecting the status quo and continuing to get that significant source of revenue. The two sides had opposed views. Senator Ernst was sort of taking the startup-oriented view of things, and some of the other folks on the other side were taking another view. And unfortunately, there just wasn't a lot of engagement. And that went right through the September 30th deadline. We hit December. There was an effort to, by the other side, to sort of force their preferred outcome by attaching a 1 year status quo reauthorization, attaching it to the NDAA in December. That didn't happen. And then in mid-December, substantive negotiations started. And obviously, mid-December, there's a holiday break. People went out of town, and then people came back. And starting in January, there were earnest negotiations. And then we all thought we had a compromise, and then we didn't have a compromise. But now it seems, I think we might be having this webinar like 24 hours too early. We picked this date a few weeks ago. I think we're probably at the finish line. I'm expecting good news to come across in the next 24 hours, although I've expected that before and been proven wrong. But I think most likely we will see some good news in the next day or two, and possibly later this afternoon.
Amazing, Eric. Thank you, first of all, for your tireless work and advocacy and getting close. And I think, the acts of Congress don't just happen. I think people like you help make them happen. And I think I speak for the entire community that your work matters. What you're doing really matters to everyone. So thank you, first and foremost, for leaning in and making the hard work look maybe easy, but it's never easy. And moreover, for keeping people apprised. I think your LinkedIn is well followed, rightly so. And thank you again for joining us here. Would you like to get some questions as we go, Eric?
Yeah, so there was a question like how do we know, right? So
Yeah.
so we have been sort of working with various stakeholders on the Hill. Obviously, Senator Ernst has sort of been the champion for the startup side of the issue. So our strongest relationship is with Senator Ernst's team on the Hill. Senator Ernst is the chair of the Senate Small Business Committee. We also have had many discussions with the other corners on the Hill, and have lots of friends who have strong relationships with those other corners as well. So we get information through various channels. Some of it is just having friends in industry who are speaking with staffers, and some of it is coming directly from staff. One thing I have observed is that when I think generally the staff, when negotiations are happening, the staff would prefer to have, space and quiet and sort of an expectation of sort of decorum, and that conversations are going to be confidential. For whatever reason, there was a lot of no progress during this debate process, and I think people got frustrated. So various sides have gone to industry to sort of organize letters. Industry sometimes goes to the press as ways to sort of release pressure or to apply pressure on the other side to sort of come to the table. From my observations, when things are hitting a snag is when we tend to hear more information, and when things are going well, we tend to hear a little bit less. Um, Things have been quiet for about the last week and change. I interpret that as a good sign. There have also been reports. There was a report in Politico Pro on Monday suggesting that there would be a bill released Tuesday, yesterday. Obviously, that didn't happen. There was a report, I think, in CQ yesterday, thinking that a bill might go live today. I can tell you, we've asked, and I think that the staffers are appropriately keeping a tight lid. I really don't have a firm answer. I can just tell that there's a lot of people thinking that it will happen, and I haven't heard people firmly say no. And I think most likely it's going to happen, but again, could be wrong.
So a little bit more color there might be helpful, Eric. Like, given your interactions with both the Ernst and Markey's staffing team, the tone, the tenor is no. I'm hearing kind of between the lines that not hearing something for the past week might be good news because they're heads down working on progress. But what's your unpacking of the tone and tenor about its trajectory? Like, can you unpack that a little bit for us?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of the bill is baked, right? So the way this played out, both sides had their bills, then they exchanged some drafts, and then they started working off of a common set of language. And I think the common set of language had 11 or 12 different sections. And most of that, there was substantive feedback that went back and forth, and it basically got agreed. It was both sides found it pretty, both sides thought it was good, right? Productive language. The point where there was substantial disagreement between the two camps was what's called Section 4, which had to do, it was the multiple award winner issue. The proposal from Senator Ernst's side was to go to the agencies and say, hey, agencies, some companies are submitting very large numbers of proposals. And in order to reduce administrative burden was the name of the section, maybe the agencies should apply a limit. So maybe only, the agencies would determine what that limit is. If an agency wants to have, companies submit hundreds of proposals, the agency could submit, a proposal limit at 10,000 per year, some arbitrarily high number that really was no limit at all. Or the agency could say, hey, we're getting flooded by, slop AI proposals. Or maybe, hey, we don't like that, a couple companies are, have strong relationships and are winning tens of millions of dollars of this money per year, and we'd like that to be, more broadly distributed. So maybe we're going to pick a low limit, but the agency would be empowered to effectuate its mission, however it believes best, and would set whatever limit the agency deems best. That proposal, it's basically giving the agency power to run its program how it wants. A lot of people have seen that proposal and think that sounds pretty reasonable. There obviously was a camp that said, "Hey, we're worried about the impact of on our business. What if the agency does pick a number like 30 or 50 or proposals per year, and we usually submit 200? What will that do to our revenue?" So that there was some pushback from certain players in industry. And so that was where the real friction was on that Section 4. We don't know how that will be resolved. Hopefully we'll know. We'll see the resolution very soon, but we don't know exactly how that will break down. But we do know pretty much the rest of the bill is out there, and we expect will continue to remain uncontroversial.
Yeah, good. So a couple of questions around the passing. Does this require a full Senate unanimous approval, or
Yeah,
what's the
procedurally,
unlock?
yeah. So I'm not a lobbyist. I'm an attorney. I've wound up doing this in my spare time, just trying to do what we can to sort of bring the sides together. Um, My understanding, again, I'm not a legislative process expert, but what people who are experts have told me is that in order to get this passed, so the Small Business Committee does not get floor time. Floor time is very limited. You can't put something on the floor and have everyone vote on it, even though that's how many people think that Congress works. So either this bill would need to be added to some other must-pass legislation, like the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, which would happen like summer, fall, or even winter if things get delayed. That would be a very long time. There's some other must-pass legislation coming up, although we'll see if it gets added to any of that. The default plan right now is something called unanimous consent. So if you don't have to have a vote, you don't have to add it to another vehicle that actually goes on the floor if every single senator agrees. And if even one person objects, then you have to go through the vote process. But the hope and I think the expectation is if the camps on the Senate Small Business Committee can agree that this is a good resolution, then all 100 senators will follow suit and there will be no objection. And so the preferred path is unanimous consent. Yes.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Um, what? Yeah, we're getting some questions about why you do give a little more color around why now. Why do you think now is the moment where things are going to happen?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a lot of people are, there's public reporting that it's going to happen. A lot of people are saying, yes, I've heard this and heard that. I haven't heard someone say, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think I would have heard a no that, people are getting over their skis. If we weren't close, I think someone would have let me know,
Yep.
but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Well, that's real. And I think you're also, I think Rich had asked on the chat, like, what is the single hang up point? And I think you touched on this issue of multi-award winners, or some have referred to these companies as SBIR mills that just go get 10 or 20 per year.
More than
And
that. More than
yeah,
that.
hundreds
Yeah.
of millions of dollars per year. 20% of the dollars go to these companies, and they clip the indirect fee, the profit, and don't use it for translational of product into market. And I think as I understand it from you, really, Eric, that the Ernst Camp wants reform to limit the number of awards or dollars that can go to any one company, and the Markey camp is basically
Opposed. Yeah.
not,
I think
not
that's
one.
fair. I think the Ernst camp would like to see if we're spending $4 or $5 billion per year, which is what the SBIR program is, the Ernst team would like to see that there's ROI, that we're spending taxpayer dollars in a way that is efficient and effective and is leading to new technologies and new businesses and new, commercialization and is adding to, the vibrancy of the U.S. economy and the tax base and jobs and all these things. And they see that when those dollars go to sort of high growth startups that are, making a bet on something big, right? If it hits, it could change the world. And obviously they don't all hit, but if it hits, it changes the world. They see that as creating that sort of dynamism and return on investment for the taxpayer. Whereas if you're doing contract R&D on, making a new bolt or a new widget or on this or that, and then doesn't go anywhere, right? Maybe if it goes well, you make a few units, but that's kind of it. They don't see that as sort of the high impact, high ROI for the taxpayer. And so if the Ernst Camp had their druthers, they would have said, actually, they did propose in the Innovate Act that a company would get up to $75 million of SBR awards, and once you hit $75 million, that's it. It's now going to go to other companies. That is not what the ultimate compromise was, because there were some companies that had received hundreds of millions of dollars and they didn't want to be eliminated. And they had friends who were able to prevent that from going through. That is what Senator Ernst would have wanted, is sort of the money would go more toward these high growth sort of startups and truly small businesses. But where we're going to wind up is probably going to be sort of a compromise, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. We'll put up on the screen here in a moment, I think, one slide of what the deal looks like, so you have that as a reference. And we're getting other questions around is the total budget for the year still going to be available for the balance through September
Yeah, I
30th?
think it might be a little less. I don't know the specific numbers in the DoD, DOW, whatever you want to call it. Um, there were some movements to reprogram some of the SBIR money, move it to other weapon system procurement and research and development. There was earlier, I think just a few days ago or maybe a week ago, there was a move to move more of that money out of that pile if the reauthorization didn't happen. I think hopefully that sort of jolted people into action, and it's not going to happen. So I think some of that money is going to come back, but I don't know that all of it is.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's helpful on the DoD side. I think what we're hearing on the NIH side, I think no one knows until things get passed into law. But remember, the SBIR program is a percentage of the extramural budget, and that a basis of the dollars is based on what's appropriated from Congress for the agency, and then it applies a percentage of. So the appropriations has happened for the NIH at least, and the word we're hearing is that they would try and spend the full year budget before September 30th. And that's what we're hearing. And we're not going to know until things are inked. But we're also hearing a number of questions around, I got a competitive score, or my year two is going to happen in the fourth quarter of this year. What's going to happen? And I think the answer that we've been hearing is that there will be a running through of the backlog, right, of competitive scores that are gone through study section and in review. And when that program is reauthorized, they will take them as they arrive in the submission date. So for the NIH, it's April 5th. For DoD, it would look to be July. And they will award based on by institute center, by division in the DoD, by when essentially effectively the council were to meet as to how those go. And they would follow the similar process of awards as they typically do, but catching up on a backlog in chronological order. One question that's a good one that I think is in everyone's best interest is, what can we do to keep up the pressure?
Yeah, so I think there's two paths here. One is we get a happy announcement in the next 24, 48 hours, and then at least the alliance's position will be congratulations, thank you so much, and it's going to be a celebration. Uh, Obviously, a much delayed celebration that causes a lot of pain, but better late than never, right? Um, and then there's a world where we don't get that, and then most likely that means that something happened. We don't know. We won't necessarily know exactly what happened. Um, we thought we had a deal based on that agency authority compromise 2 weeks ago. I had been told that there was, compromise language that was basically approved at least at the staff level, and then we were waiting on official stakeholder approval 2 weeks ago, and then Senator Markey was supposed to provide his approval, and then he didn't. And then at that point, there was a lot of concern that maybe we didn't have a deal, or maybe we weren't as close as we thought we were. So we did, go public with that information, and there was a very significant public response because virtually everyone in the ecosystem wanted to happen, and there were just a few companies that were concerned with that sort of agency compromise. And so there was a lot of public response. Probably 100, 200 or more companies probably called in to Senator Markey's office. I don't know the exact number. There was a change.org petition started that I believe has 500 plus signatures now pushing for these compromises. And so I think there was a very strong, very organized public response from the startup community in a way that really there hadn't been before. My best guess, I don't know, but my best guess is that public response did have an impact and is going to produce a compromise soon. If we don't get that compromise soon, I think absolutely the public should continue to apply pressure, because I do think that pressure has a very discernible impact. And I think that is motivating the sides to come together. So if you don't see something in the next 24 hours, sign the change.org petition, call your representative, call Senator Markey's office. Yeah,
Yeah.
keep up the pressure.
Yeah, I think keep up the pressure. If it doesn't happen, my personal action of what I'm going to do is if it doesn't happen by 5 o'clock or whenever I go to bed tonight, I'm emailing Giselle Berry and the 4 other staffers that I have email addresses to at Markey's office, and I'm picking up the phone and I'm leaving a message for the 5th time. If you are interested in those email addresses, email us. We're happy to give those to you. We're not going to make them public, but if we know who we're giving them to one-to-one, we're comfortable doing that. If you email Dan, Dan, if you could put just your email in the chat. If you email Dan, he'll get those email addresses to you at Markey's office. We've got Ernst's too, but I think Markey is the linchpin here. So I think advocacy, if it doesn't happen in 12 hours, I think it's letting the democratic process work its magic, which is you making noise about the need to get it reauthorized, especially those that live in Massachusetts. Let's keep rolling with questions. So a lot of questions around year 2 awards of a phase 2 that the phase 1 has been completed, or maybe a fast track that's the first year of the fast track to get awarded. And if you think about this conceptually, the NIH at least needs to spend a year worth of money in the remaining time between now and September 30th. And the existing awards that are not yet authorized to be spent, have not yet been awarded, will get funded in that catch-up of that year. And when the program gets reauthorized, and then new applications that have competitive scores as per the normal process will go through that award. So if you can envision, let's say hypothetically, the program never hit pause, we would be normally flowing where awards would happen. All of that is just going to happen in a shorter time period in the year between now and September 30th, which is the government year end. And so I would expect a year 2 award for the NIH to be awarded, right? I would expect a phase 2 you did the phase 1 of a fast track, the phase 2 to be awarded if you hit your goals. But so I think everything's gonna, I would say, happen normally in a very abnormally short time period. What that means for you is that you must be ready. If you want to submit for April 5, you must be ready on February 25th, today, to think about how you're going to do that. It is
Sam,
not.
if I could just jump in for a sec. Erin Neal, I think I know who Erin is. I think she might be a real lobbyist with real knowledge.
Yeah.
She just posted, there was a political article that actually said that the bill was released very recently. And there's also a link on the political article that has the compromised bill text. And another reporter just pinged me, texted me saying that the bill is out. So
Amazing.
so
That
to be
what
determined, well, but sounds good.
you called it, Eric. It's like we thought it might happen on this webinar, and there we go. So yeah, excellent. I think so. What you just said, Eric, is underlining the point we were just talking about, which is you need to be ready. And Ryan, you asked about when the point of no return is, and I think we're hearing what we had heard is like a month is the necessary time for the NIH to get its machinery in operation. So March 5 would be a red line. Hopefully this happens the next 24 hours. But I think we're hearing March 5th is a red line for the NIH. I will also say DARPA has gone on record as saying, as soon as the SBIR program gets reauthorized, the next Wednesday we're issuing SBIR. So it depends on where you're going. But I think good news there. Why don't I put up the slide, which is the quick snapshot of what we prepped this slide. It's not been obviously reconciled with the the text that's hit Politico. So that's the caveat here. But I'm just cycling through questions as we go. And Eric, I don't know if you want to hit any highlights here. I'll try and play catch up here. So yeah, there's a question on AI. Maybe we can just touch on that quickly. I think the NIH has issued a limit to the number to 6 applications per year per PI, which is a thrifty number, I'll say, as in low. The NSF requires you to disclose if you used AI to write your application. And I can tell you at the NIH, reviewers are prohibited from using AI for their reviews. So I think that's the state of play in the NIH. And the DoD has not come out with guidance as of yet. But I can tell you one thing that is something we have seen pretty consistently. We saw it in 2024 where AI was used to write grants. The approval rates, the win rate effectively, the award rate was the lowest it has ever been in 2024. And that's because AI was used. So you can tell. Reviewers can tell. So, don't use AI as a crutch. Is there anything, Eric, you want to touch on here on the overview?
Yeah. So with the obvious caveat that I haven't reviewed what is going live at present. I assume that most of this looks like it did before. Key items to be tracking. I think the number one most high impact item for most of the folks in this audience is going to be the strategic breakthrough program. So the alliance's viewpoint is, and particularly with folks who are working with the DOW and the agencies where the government might be your customer. So not really NIH. For folks where the government could be a customer on the other end, the SBIR program is a fantastic tool to get some research and development, build something compelling. However, there's a problem on the other end. The number one problem is going from phase 2 to actual delivery of value to the warfighter. Valley of death is a common term to describe this, but the bottom line is there's no dedicated program on the other end, or even a transition program to get you to the other side. A strategic breakthrough program is specifically intended to address that problem, and is a good way to address it. It's modeled on the Air Force's STRATFI program, if people are familiar with STRATFI. But what it is, it's a jumbo phase 2/phase 3. Legally, it's a phase 2, but you can kind of think of it functionally as a phase 3. And what it is you can get up to $30 million in a contract or a series of contracts of SBIR allocated funds, and then you can match that with other dollars. So you can go to a customer in the DOW or another agency and say, hey, I have this product, this solution that adds value to your mission. Would love to be able to work with you. If you can find, I know that you have a lot of pressure on your budget, but if you can find maybe $5 or $10 million to work with me, then I can multiply that by getting $5 or $10 million of SBIR funds, $5 or $10 of venture capital funds or private investment. And so if you can put in, say, $10 million off your budget, I can actually deliver $30 million of value to you. And so what that does is it's a really powerful sales tool to actually get over the valley of death and deliver real value to your customer and get your customer to sort of begin the forming the habit of buying from you. And then the other thing it does is a lot of times on phase 1, phase 2s, they're really great tools, particularly early on, but it's hard to scale up your business to have sort of critical mass and velocity on $1 and $2 million contracts. You just can't get enough headcount, enough traction, enough velocity to really get to where you need to be, where the government is willing to place a big bet on you and really rely on you. And so what this does is it allows you to build up that 30 or potentially larger than that because you include the matching funds and really build up the critical mass of your business to the point that the government really does believe that you'll be there in a handful of years, and that they can rely on you. So number one, it's a really powerful transition tool, and number two, it's a really powerful tool to sort of scale up and build that critical mass that you need to be, a real competitive player in the defense or public sector market. So I think that's the number one most impactful reform from our perspective. We're really, really excited about that. That's something that we've been pushing for years. There's a number of other quality of life improvements. There's some training. So if anyone's ever tried to do a phase 3 with the government, you will have found that most contracting officers in the government are not familiar with phase 3 and they're not really that comfortable with it. There's going to be the legislation is most likely, it was in the draft bill, I assume it's in the final bill, directing the agencies to implement training programs to educate the acquisition professionals. There's some improvements on phase 3 processing, trying to standardize things. Um, there's some quality of life improvements on how TABA, technical and business assistance dollars, go out to the companies, giving the companies more flexibility to use that money in ways that make sense for their companies. So there's a lot of quality of life improvements here as well.
Yeah, excellent. Aaron, Neil, thank you very much for that link. It does appear that both Ernst and Markey's offices have jointly issued legislation, which I think, Eric, would you say that says a meaningful statement?
I guess I think it does. I
Yeah,
would love
that's
to
what
read it, but I
right.
think
Yeah,
that would be a good
that
sign
was
if true.
that was the first line, and I think that says it all. And obviously the language, I think Eric has done a significant amount of inside work in providing access that helped create this slide. That's publicly available information that you're getting, not proprietary information. So one question that has been threaded through here is foreign risk assessment. This has been I think you could say a well-intended goal applied with arbitrary force. And this point 3 that Eric touched on, which is more transparent decisions, a disclosure back to the companies about why they were negated, and a process to correct erroneous denials. Expect that to not be easy, and expect that the best way to do this is to have as clean and a non-risk assessment against foreign countries of concern, Russia, China, Iran, Turkmenistan, and a couple of others, before you submit. And I think I would say that the intent of the legislation remains, but the inadvertent foot faulting that is in certain applications that doesn't involve foreign countries of concern, but an errant word rose a red flag. I think that's really my understanding of the intent of what's been happening here. So I think you still need to be diligent and have rigor in this regard. But I think it's going to be less arbitrary. So that's good news. Let's see, I'm looking for some other questions.
There are a lot of comments in chat.
There are, yeah. Thanks again, Aaron, for dropping that. It's definitely timely for all of here, and Eric, for you to join us. There's a number of other questions around like other agencies like NIST, Department of Energy, USDA, and the bill, I think I haven't read the legislation like no one else has, but it's being looked at for 3 years through 2029, which I think would be to the calendar year of, call it today or tomorrow, whenever it gets passed.
I think it might be 5 years now.
Okay, amazing.
It was 3 years in the last version, but I see some 2031s in there now.
Right on 5 years. Yeah, thank you, Aaron. She's confirming it is 5 years. Great call out. So So I think that 5 years is 60 months. That gives enough runway for agencies to spin up like USDA that's not as prolific. It gives runway to the agencies like at the DoD to get that infrastructure up and running. Um, and it so I think all agencies that pass the threshold for having an SBIR STTR program um, will get up and running. For some smaller agencies, that's going to take some time. For groups like DARPA that are nimble, move very quickly, it'll happen fast. So that's I think that's the state of play for um, all of the agencies that reach the threshold for having an SBIR program. I appreciate the question on what all this will mean for Grant Engine. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's take care of your concerns first, and the audience. I think we've covered the themes of all of the questions. Oh, one question came up of what do you do from here around budget waiver topics, and will there be another cycle? Will there be 3 cycles? Because we missed one in the first part of the year in January for everyone. We don't know is the short answer. But I would encourage you to continue to think about budget waiver topics where that's appropriate and allowed. And the program is really there to reach milestones. So I would say be ethical, don't be greedy. But if you need that extra money to do the budget waiver, which you almost always do to get product in market, then go there, right? For budget waiver topics. I think given this state of play, it's April 5th looks to be a high confidence of occurring for the NIH. That would mean for the next available, I think we're looking at the summer. Usually it's June, July. The insertion of another deadline between April 5 and September 5, I would say is unlikely, but it's certainly possible. I think there's going to be a lot of submissions that happen between now and April 5, or when they allow programs to be issued. As it relates to you and for Grant Engine, I think we will look at non-SBIR sourcing here in a moment. Michael, thanks for that reminder. Current clients get priority, right? That stands to reason. And April 5th is weeks away even from now. So what I would encourage you to do is not use AI to just slam something together and submit just for the sake of submitting. We saw in 24 that does not work for you. We had one of our clients who shall forever remain nameless submitted 22 applications in a cycle, and they came up short 100%. So that's a data point, but it's representative of reality of using AI. I think real people that are, for the most part, diligent, read these reviews, and you want to put in high quality, competitive submissions that matter. And that takes time to prepare and submit. And so we're here for you. We've prepped for these moments when we need to do 2.5 months of work in a month. So please reach out to us. You can email us at funding@grantengine.com. But I think if we work together, you're going to need to move faster than you've moved before. So be ready for that. That'll be the first thing we'll say to you. Eric, maybe in the remaining time, I want to leave it over to you if you want to wrap anything up, and then we can move to the non-SBIR opportunities.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to read the bill. We'll be interested to see exactly how it came out. Looks like that section 4 item was resolved in a way that seems like it could have been agreed weeks ago.
Yeah, right.
Looks pretty familiar to the last draft I reviewed, but I'm glad to see it came live. And it does look like the rest of the bill is basically what we expected, but I'll have to dive into it. But looking forward to reviewing it carefully. And then, we probably will provide some analysis and commentary on what it contains in due course. And then obviously we'll try to provide an update to our legal clients to the extent that is relevant for our folks as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. All right. And if you're not a member of the Alliance, I'd encourage everyone to join. It's a nominal fee, or hire Eric as your early stage company counsel. He is not only awesome in helping the ecosystem, but I can say as an attorney, a trusted source. So please lean on him. We're not getting paid anything for that advertisement, but it just comes from an authentic place. So please support Eric's outstanding work for everyone. Okay, and thank you again, Eric. Thanks for sticking around as we wrap up this webinar.
Yep.
Yeah,
Appreciate it, and excited that we got good news.
yeah. We'll just call that great timing.
So can I just one thing there?
Yes, sir.
Eric, if you want to just share with the audience how to be in touch with you if they would like to be.
Oh yeah. So you can drop me a note, just connect on LinkedIn, or I'll drop my email in the chat if folks want to connect directly.
Please do that, Eric. That's great. We will send the slides out to all registered guests minus one person, and his email will be on this slide 3 as well, and direct sell. So I hope we can remove that if you want, Eric. But that's a way to get in touch.
Sounds good. I'll always have to chat with folks.
Yeah, amazing. Great. So you'll get that, but it'll be in the chat as well for you. So quickly here, I'm going to do the bird's eye view of where to go find funding. So there is significant funding at the NIH that is not SBIR. There's really attractive UG3, UH3. There's a Blueprint Medical Technology for med device principally, but med tech that has 8+ to we've gotten clients 19, 18, and $16 million for the UG3, UH3 program. There's an industry partnership that's an R01 between an academic and an industry that's tuned for translation and commercialization. So the NIH remains an attractive place for products that have relevance for the warfighter and for the defense industry, broadly speaking. The CDMRP programs are coming online. That requires a special effort and work. The plethora of CPRIT for cancer in Texas, regenerative medicine in California. We have gotten significant funding from both of those sources, and we see many companies going to those areas. There are far too many logo slides for the PCORIs of the world, everything from Michael J. Fox to Alzheimer's to multiple myeloma, and on down the list from Dupuytren's contracture to many other things that you can see. There are a large source of funding from foundations, CDMRP, NIH, and elsewhere. So it's too much to list here, but be in touch with us if you're interested in that, and we will help you get there. Over to you, Josh. Oh, you're on mute, Josh.
So good, thank you. It might take just a little while till they open the DoD SBIR programs now that we have good movement, and hopefully will come to fruition really soon. But even if it doesn't happen tomorrow, there are a lot of opportunities open right now, which are fantastic opportunities. Some of them were built in response to the fact that the SBIR program was on pause in order to encourage small businesses to get involved. So I'll touch upon a couple, but this is by no means the full scope of what's available. One is a program from the Army called the Army Open Solicitation. And it's a uniquely flexible program. You essentially get to frame your own proposal, submit it as a broad agency announcement, an OTA or CSO. And there are some specific open topics with near-term deadlines, specific in that they are industry-specific. One is AI-enabled software development, and another is Joint Enterprise Task Management System. Both are due in early March. So if you're relevant for them, you should consider it. But even if those don't fit, this is a fully open call for any technology that can make an impact for the Army. Think of it as the Army saying, convince us why what you're doing is something that we should care about. Another program is a program from the Naval Special Warfare Command, which is currently posted on Vulcan. The Navy is looking for technologies that can improve situational awareness for autonomous systems, which is a high priority capability for special operations forces. I saw somebody in the chat mention that they were working on heavy lift drones that could be relevant here as well. Another program is the Army Application Lab BAA. As the name suggests, this BAA is broad in scope and typically funds earlier stage innovation. Current topics include autonomous platforms, AI and ML, data visualization in synthetic environments, assured PNT, power generation and management, sensing, comms and networks, computation, space, Internet of Things, quantum, and the list goes on. There's a lot of opportunity here. They are also interested in funding a very wide range of technologies. Another program which is typically geared towards small businesses is XTech, and they have a new program called Adaptive Strike. Adaptive Strike is focused specifically on drone innovation. The program runs as a multi-stage contest with a relatively modest cash prizes, but the real value isn't necessarily in the prize money, but rather XTech connects you directly with Army stakeholders. And after initial prize amounts, the next step is often followed by a tailored phase 1 or phase 2. And over the 7 or 8 years the XTech program has been open, competition winners have gone on to net $285 million in follow-on contracts. So Adaptive Strike is the latest iteration, and it's due March 13th. There are a lot of other programs open and worth mentioning. I'll quickly just mention them. The DIU, Defense Innovation Unit, currently has 3 open CSOs. DHS, Department of Homeland Security, has its long-range BAA with a wide range of topics, especially in cybersecurity. ERDC Works has 5 open CSOs. That's the engineering core, and it's worthwhile taking a look at what they're offering. There's also ESTCP, which is focused on the intersection between defense and energy, and they have 2 open solicitations. So if any of these sound like a fit for your technology, it's worthwhile to take a look into it and to schedule a call and to find some time to chat with us.
Yeah. Excellent, Josh. I'm going to jump to the next slide about engaging with Grand Engine. Yeah, I'll continue, please, Josh.
Sure. Our approach really starts before the actual proposal writing. We start by doing deep research on the best opportunities that are currently available and developing a plan that's tailored for you. After that, we work together with you to find champions if it's in the defense arena, but also to get the agency buy-in. And there are a lot of ways that you can go about that. After that, we work with you to build a compelling narrative, which in the case of defense opportunities is focused on the end user. And if you go to the next slide, part of building the proposals includes helping you align a lot of aspects of it, including your budget, to incorporate subs or partners that you might have, tailor your proposals to program or end user, whatever the vision of the program is. And this will help us to be more proficient. And we also have on top of that is internal checks and balances, including an external review. So we're very structured and methodical about how we work with companies, with the end goal, of course, of winning as much relevant and opportunities as possible. Next slide. Over the years, if you're interested in just to take a look at some helpful tools, which we have, and some information that we have, you can visit our website. One of my favorite tools that we have is actually a tool that will help you better understand solicitation. You can plug them in and play. It's fantastic. There's a lot there if you're curious. And if you're interested in pursuing federal funding, or you want to get ahead before the SBIR program restarts, which timely, as it seems to be happening sooner rather than later, be in touch with us. We can schedule a call and discuss your technology and eventually do an opportunity search to identify high fit opportunities. You can email us at funding@grantengine.com. Feel free also to follow us on LinkedIn and to contact us and over email and also through other methods. Thank you, everybody. If any other questions you have, you can reach out to us via email, and we'll be happy to schedule a time to talk or to answer your questions directly.
Amazing. Josh, thank you. Eric, thank you. I think we'll put a bow on this for today, but we'll send out everything and have a wonderful rest of the day. And congratulations to the ecosystem. Looks like things broke loose in the last 60 minutes. So have a wonderful day. If I could have the Grand Engine, we'll end the meeting now. If I could have the Grand Engine team come back to this Zoom meeting, we'll do a quick debrief. Thanks, everybody.